So I would say that growing up, we grew up in a very traditional, legalistic Pentecostal environment, and most of the experiences that we had with technology wasn't like what we experience today with computers and YouTube and internet and Facebook. We experienced, there were some televangelists that shared the gospel. Mainly we stood on the corners and
passed out tracts.
Yeah, passed out tracts.
Bullhorn. Bullhorn. Used to have the bullhorn that says, you're gonna, if you don't be saved, you're going to hell.
Growing up, I grew up in church, I grew up Baptist, and I think that's where I first started to see technology being used. I felt like my church was very much advanced when it came to using technology and reaching audiences, but not just using technology to reach audiences, but using technology for the church. So for example, in the large sanctuary at the church that I grew up in, they would use projectors like on both sides of the wall where you could see the, like, who's ever speaking, singing, ministering, whatever the case may be, no matter from where you're sitting.
So media and technology, I believe, have really advanced the kingdom of God because it's reaching so many different people with just one click of a button. You can go online and you can see somebody speaking about the gospel or preaching the gospel. That's very different from back in the day, before social media was really heavily involved in our society. We didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have these platforms that people can make quick videos and share them, or different posts, scriptures. We didn't have apps, we didn't have any of these things that can now like reach so many people and spread the gospel that way.
I think for me it was like, I mean, sometimes it's even just daily, like when you're on Instagram and you're having a bad day and you follow Bible verses and you just go ahead and you read one and you're like, yes, bottom line, that's what it is. So it kind of just realigns yourself. But also kind of going with what Sean was saying in terms of the access that we have to sermons from different churches and different pastors that we're able to feed ourselves with is very impactful.
With the ministry that I'm a part of, the most impactful way that media has helped us is mostly in fellowship, being able to connect with each other through different platforms such as Facebook or Instagram, being able to advertise events and get people to come out to services.
A year or two ago, my friends all went to a conference that I wanted to go on, but it just didn't really work out or whatever. And they were all talking about how powerful this specific message was. And I'm like, dang, and they were like, oh, I wish I had a recording of it. Nobody did, of course. But I found this really, really rinky-dink clip, or not clip, but a recording of the word on YouTube. And it was like off somebody's like Android phone or something, and it was just not, it wasn't good, but I could hear and that word was so powerful. Like I don't know how many times I listened to that word, and I remember being in my room at school and listening to that word and just being wrecked, like in my room, like on the floor crying, like the whole nine. And that word I feel like was pretty life-changing, I would say. And had I not had access to media, I would have never heard it.
John Bevere, YouTube. John Bevere is a pastor, preacher, teacher of the gospel, and I listened to this sermon called Driven by Eternity. Never met John before, but it's as if he's been in my home for many years because of the growth I've been able to receive under his leadership and guidance in his sermons. And one sermon was called Driven by Eternity, and forever I will be different. I'll be changed and have a mindset knowing that my life is much more valuable and important than I really thought. We all have purpose, and listening to that sermon really brought everything together. There was such a rawness to the message, realizing that at the end of the day we're just a small blimp on the scale, so to speak, of people here on this earth, and that we all have a purpose, regardless if I'm a mother of 3 or an accountant or a preacher of the gospel. I could be operating in the wrong vein. So if I don't spend time really seeking the Father and understanding exactly what my purpose is, I could be missing people that I could be impacting in this world. And so without that video, without that channel, I may have never been, had access to it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people see technology as mechanics and mechanisms and machines and all this stuff like that. Technology is way more than that. Technology is how we invent. It's how technology is what we invent to make our lives easier for culture, for as we're progressing as humans, it's how things are evolving. So it's not just a camera, it's not just social media, it's not just phones. Technology is printing press, technology is pencils, pens, technology is books. This is like not foreign to us because we always had books. We didn't always have computers. Some of us weren't alive when computers were first, made. So that's why we always look at technology as mechanics and mechanisms. But technology is books. There weren't books way back when. So with the spread and the creation of the Bible, that's when technology and Christianity started to intertwine. Even before that, writing down the scriptures or the text on tablets, and then centuries and centuries later, we started to have a widespread of people knowing what the gospel is because we were able to print the word. It wasn't just somebody just speaking, it wasn't somebody just writing, but when you're able to print things, it opens up and a wider audience because it can reach so many people. Because now, instead of just having one copy of it, you have multiple copies. Also, the Bible is not translated in every language. That's another thing. So we're still trying to reach greater audiences, to spread the gospel, to spread the message of God through technology. It's not just, like I said, cameras or computers or laptops or social media. That's a piece of it. That's what we see now. That's what we see the gospel being spread through now. But we have to remember how it was first spread. But now you can say, this is what we believe about God. This is who we believe about what God says. This is how, follow our way. This is how Jesus said this, Jesus didn't say this. He rose on this day, he didn't rise on this day. The Sabbath's on Saturday, the Sabbath's on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? So that is how people were able to really spread their belief of the gospel, really spread their knowledge, and just get the gospel out in general.
Early on, we only had oral history, and the stories, the Bible stories, were passed on. But when the Bible was written, it gave us the ability to see it in print, to become more aware of what happened during the days before Christ and during Christ and after Christ. And so it opened up our understanding of who God is.
And these were men inspired by God, right? And in looking as far as today, now we have what we call Google. When we use Google, we can look up all these different types of information that will give us an insight on, say the King James Bible is sometimes difficult to comprehend. So now when you go and Google it, you can get a decent commentary. I'm not saying that we should live on the commentary, we should live on the word, but slide can help us break down what was actually happening in certain parts of life.
I think it speaks to kind of our journey. Starting our dating relationship back in 2001, there were no real cell phones at the time, and it was probably just starting on the market. Remember the Nokia little sling phone, game phone?
Yeah.
So we really did a lot of our communication through face-to-face interaction. On the phone, the old phone where you had to dial, hit the buttons, and all that good stuff. But as the world evolved and technology evolved, and 2000s became 2010s, certainly the cell phone has taken over. There's not a person, I would say, even in our age group or younger, that doesn't have a cell phone and communicating that lens. And social media took off too as well.
I'm smiling because I remember like when Star 69 was a thing.
Right.
And like you would unsavedly, if that's a term, call your mom and be like, oh, I'm at so she called Star 69 and be like, you are not where you said that you were. But yeah, I think that social media, just technology in general, computers has just completely taken off. When we were kids, we used to have one humongous computer, and you would take a phonics course there sometimes like once a week. And I remember thinking as a kid, like, this is so dumb. Like, we're never gonna do this like ever again.
Right.
And that was like, right. But I mean, like, that's when I was like 6. So you know what I mean? But I think that even in this era where we have kids now and social media is such an influence, like Javi is 2.5 and he knows he knows how to navigate YouTube.
Yeah. And like literally scroll and find Peppa Pig.
Amazing and frightening at the same time, because I can't always be there, and I can put all the parental controls that I want to put on there, but I'm never going to put something is always going to slide under the rug, and I'm going to miss it. And so I think when, yes, social media has been able to influence Christians in a way that it hasn't in the past, and just kind of make its mark on the nation and say, hey, we love Jesus, come follow Jesus. At the same time, I feel like people have also used it for negative. You know, like, you're always going to have that in the world. So in terms of just children being influenced, that's a big thing too. And just knowing, I think the important part of it is you can use it as a positive vehicle and a negative vehicle. You can be consumed by it, or you can use it as a tool. And I think that is the main, how we should look at social media, even as you know, we have kids. So just, I think the real issue here is knowing who you are.
Yeah, it goes back to just the motives, so kind of piggyback what you're saying, right. Knowing who you are, what are your intentions of the social media too as well. Am I trying to elevate myself, or am I trying to elevate God? Right. Or am I elevating Christ in the fact that me having this channel, or me showing this video or this blog and whatnot? I'm always encouraged when I see that, though, when I see believers posting and sharing their faith, because at the end of the day, the opposite is the opposite. It's someone that is not sharing their faith, not sharing their testimony, and there's a lot of stereotypes about believers and Christians out there that I think these YouTube channels, these social media provides a breath of fresh air. There's a realness to it that I think that in the past, even our generation before, didn't really took it for granted, so to speak, and always look right at the negative. I think there's tremendous positives in it too.
Yeah.
I believe that social media can both impact positively and negatively on church attendance and spiritual growth of a ministry, or the amount of members who attend a certain ministry. Because if you do make everything so easy to receive online, there will most likely be people who are like, okay, well, I can watch the sermon from the comfort of my bed in my own home. I don't have to get up on a rainy day or whenever I don't feel like it. So there may be people who begin to just stay home and, you know, don't really continue going to church. So growth in that way, it could either harm or it could benefit, because people could see something on social media, or I could share a post that my church has shared, or I could share a video about this event that happened and the way that God moved at that specific event, and people may begin to be interested and share it with their friends. And just the way that everything on social media is shared nowadays, it could be shared in that manner, and then more people could begin to attend that certain ministry. talking about spiritual growth and growing a ministry spiritually through social media, kind of similar to the first response, that if people aren't coming to church but they're just staying home to watch it, then they're not making accountability partners, they're not connecting with anyone in the church, and then in that scenario it becomes a lot easier for us as believers to fall off because we don't have connections with other people. God made us to commune with each other, and so when we don't have that, it's much difficult to actually live the Christian life. We need those people who are going to pick us up when things are getting difficult. We need those people who are going to check in on us, who are going to make sure that we're on top of what we're supposed to be doing. And then in the other regards, it can help us to grow spiritually because I may share something on my social media account with someone and it may begin to actually uplift and edify them. While I said earlier was really good for me, depending on the type of person you are, depending on the upbringing you have, depending on just the understanding and the knowledge that you have of God, it can become problematic because we live in a society where it's so easy to just copy and paste. It's easy to just think, see a couple seconds of a clip and then take what you want from that. So it can really be misconstrued and things of that nature to many different people to just take it the way that they want to. Not only that, but I believe that some people may just see a clip or watch a sermon and think, okay, like that was good, like I have my fill for the week or I have my fill for the day, like I spent time with God or I learned something or whatever the case may be. But a true relationship with God and being able to advance the kingdom doesn't just come from watching a sermon a day or watching a sermon a week or listening to certain things or podcasts. It actually comes from spending that time with the Lord and being in prayer and things of that nature. So it's definitely not just watching something on social media and then being done with your day. So I believe in that way it can become problematic.
I want to look at it in terms of technology in itself. How is that actually revealing God's character? Like, and I feel like that could be like showing the creative side of God, or like, and I feel like that's something that we don't really like to talk about. Something we don't really like to talk about, or something that we kind of skip over, how God is a very creative God, and that, you know, He made all of this, everything, plants, and without any blueprint, without any, like, He created all of it. And so I feel like technology, how it's innovative, it's always something new, it's always something unheard of, something whatever, it's always advancing. I feel like that is very synonymous to who God is. He's always doing something new. He is always revealing new parts of Himself to us, just as we discover new things in technology, things that we thought we could never do 20, 30 years ago are now being done. I think that our ministry, though we are active on all social media platforms, I think that we definitely haven't tapped into that science. I don't feel like we're really touching people in the way that we could, because I'm saying could because I've seen how other ministries have used social media. I think that we could be using it a lot more to reach people, as far as getting people to hear about our ministry, and also just using social media as a platform to talk about Jesus and who He is. And so I think that generally speaking, it could be something that we use to our advantage, but I don't think we've really tapped into that yet.
I think innovation and technology, if done correctly with the right motives, can definitely reveal God's heart through different messages and videos and content that's created through these different platforms. I definitely think it can reveal God's heart, like I said, if it has the right motive, and further what the mission that He has for all of us to follow Him, give our lives to Christ, and live a life dedicated to God.
I've definitely seen my ministry grow in the different attendances that we have at events or at prayer nights or whatever the case may be, because you're able, instead of saying, even though word of mouth I believe is still really effective, but you're able to put a flyer or post a flyer and say, hey, we're having this prayer night on Friday, June 14th, please come. And people who don't even go to the church will show up because you posted it on a platform that reaches wider ranges of audience. Jesus' directive to us is to go out and make disciples of all the nations. And with the widespread of the way technology is being used, with the widespread of digital media platforms and how we can speak to people in different countries without having different charges on our phones and whatever the case may be, how we can email whoever we want, how we can FaceTime whoever we want, Zoom, Skype. We're actually, if we use these platforms correctly, we're actually able to fulfill what Jesus asked of us. Go out and make disciples of all the nations. Not stay in your church and make disciples because they're already at the church, but to go out and speak to people and connect with different people. And it's not that we just rely on communication through the different platforms, but it's helped us with first base connections, with first base point of context, and with meeting different people.
I think that social media plays a pretty big role in growing ministries. Actually, I'm gonna say a huge role in growing ministries because I've seen some of these ministries who have thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, and I know a lot of those followers are just going to look at the little video or look at the little picture with the cool lighting and hands lifted or whatever and like it, and that be it. But then I also know there's another portion of those people who are going to be like, okay, wait, where is this church? Where is this ministry? They could find out that it's around the corner, find out that it's down the street, find out that it's whatever, an hour away, 3 hours away, but then it's worth the drive to them, and that could be their new church home. And then there's also another portion of those people who tune into all of the live streams of the sermons and tune into the worship and tune into whatever, and their lives are changed because of it. So I definitely think that, I kind of forgot the question, but I think I answered it.
You think it plays a role? I don't mind that.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I definitely think that social media plays a role in. I definitely think that social media plays a role in growing ministries.
And cut.